Hello everyone. We are going to be discussing right now about the truth about the rapture. The reason I'm doing this video and the reason I've made it public is so that everyone who sees this video can understand the truth. Okay? We might have our own personal views of the rapture, okay, and when it will take place. Many of us might say, I want the rapture to happen before all the trouble happens because I don't want to have to go through that trouble. But what does the Bible say about the rapture? Okay, so we're going to look at Matthew chapter 24. Okay? So here we go. The signs of the end times. Okay? And I want to make it clear to pay attention to the process of when things occur in this reading. Okay? So this is after they were in the temple, they left the temple, and he's with his disciples. Okay? And he's explaining to them when he's talking about this temple being destroyed and what it means. Here's what Jesus says, starting in verse 4 of chapter 24 in Matthew. Watch out that no one deceives you, okay? For many will come in my name claiming I am the Messiah and will deceive many. There are also many who will come with a false faith, okay? A false religion, a false faith, okay? In order to deceive you, okay? In order to lure you away from God, okay? For many will come in my name claiming I am the Messiah and will deceive many. But there's also many out in this world, many cults, many faiths, okay, that I've been able to discover that while the people may seem to have real faith in that religion, okay, or in that spirituality group, what they cling to is false. Now, I make no mistake of declaring that I do not believe in any way, shape, or form what the Mormon Bible believes in any facet. Okay, I've looked at it, I've read it, I've compared it to the actual Bible, the Holy Bible. There is no similarities, okay, at all. And according to the Word of God, if anything that you come across that tries to teach you, okay, that tries to teach you about God, if it doesn't line up with the Word of God, it's not from God, okay? So the ones that I've been able to come across so far, Mormons, their religion, we got all other cults out there, Buddhists, Muslims, all these different religions and faiths out there, okay? So let's continue with the reading, though, okay? Verse 6. You will hear of wars and rumors of wars, but see to it that you are not alarmed. Such things must happen, but the end is still to come. Nation will rise against nation, and kingdom against kingdom. There will be famines and earthquakes in various places. All of these are the beginning of birth pains. Same as when a woman starts having birth, she starts having those contractions. That's what this is. When you see this stuff happening, the contractions have started. And we are now in the area of, right now, in the world, where all of this is taking place. Okay? So we are in the birth pains, if not after that. So here we go. Verse 9. You then will be handed over to be persecuted and put to death. Okay. Who is it when it says, then you? Who's the you? The you is you, but the you is talking about Christians. Okay. The you is not talking about the people who don't know God. Because think about it for a second. What people that don't know God are going to actually be reading the Bible? Okay? You will be handed over and persecuted and put to death. and you will be hated by all nations because of me. Okay? Hello? Yep. Okay, thank you. I do apologize about that interruption. Okay, let's get back to it. Okay? You will be persecuted and put to death, and you will be hated by all nations because of me. At that time, many will turn away from the faith and will betray and hate each other. And many false prophets will appear and deceive many people. Okay? Me personally, I know of one in particular, Joseph Smith. Okay? They will deceive many people. Because of the increase of wickedness, the love of most will grow cold. That means people are just going to be walking by. They're not going to care about other people. They're going to be too busy loving themselves to care about others. Okay? But the one who stands firm to the end will be saved. Check that out, though. Pay attention to that. But the one who stands firm in their faith and keeps their faith to the end will be saved. And this gospel of the kingdom will be preached in the whole world as a testimony to all nations, and then the end will come. Okay? All right? Now that's happening right now. The gospel is being preached everywhere due to satellites, due to internet, due to accessibility online. More people are coming to know God than any other time in history. Okay? So there's 2 points I want to point out to this. Okay? So it's saying, and then the end will come. Now, pay attention to this. In verse 15. So when you see standing in the holy place, what's the holy place? The holy place is the temple in Jerusalem. Okay? The abomination that causes desolation. That's another name for the Antichrist. Okay? Spoken of through the prophet Daniel. Let the reader understand. Then let those who are in Judea flee to the mountains. Let no one in the field go back to get their cloak. How dreadful it would be in those days for pregnant women and nursing mothers. Pray that your flight, or that your flight, or that your fleeing, will not take place in winter or on the Sabbath, for then there will be great distress. Now, there's some things I want to point out in these verses. Okay, first of all, in 15, we got the Antichrist being revealed. Okay? All right? The Antichrist being revealed. Now, keep that in your mind. Okay? The second thing we got is, check this out, in verse 21. For then there will be great distress, unequaled, from the beginning of the world until now, and never to be equal again. That's telling you this. And this is a shocking revelation. Pay attention to this. It's saying that what's going to occur, what's going to be coming, is even worse than the flood of Noah. How do we know this? Because we pay attention to the words. For then there will be distress, unequaled. That means no comparison. From the beginning of the world, and never to be equaled again. Here, Katie. So now we're in verse 22. If those days had not been cut short, no one would survive. But for the sake of the elect. Who is the elect? The elect are Christians. Okay? That is a term used for Christians. The elect, for the sake of the elect, those days will be shortened. 23. At that time, if anyone says to you, look, here is the Messiah, or there he is, do not believe it. For false messiahs and false prophets will appear and be able to perform great signs and wonders to deceive, if possible, even the elect. See, I have told you ahead of time. So if anyone tells you, there he is out in the wilderness, don't go out. Or here he is in the inner rooms, don't believe it. For as lightning that comes from the east is visible, even in the west, so will be the coming of the Son of Man. Wherever there is a carcass, there will be vultures would gather. Okay, so let's recap. So we have in verse 15, the Antichrist being revealed in the temple in Jerusalem. Okay. We also have that there's going to be stuff that's going to happen that's going to blow our minds and literally shake our faith. Okay. Verse 29. Immediately after the distress of those days. What days are they talking about? The days, everything prior. The distress that's never to be equaled again. The revealing of the Antichrist. After those days, the sun will be darkened and the moon will not give its light. Now, I personally don't know what exactly that specific part talks about, but being a person who loves science, I do have some ideas. Okay, this is just an idea. Now, I do not know if this is all going to happen in one day or if it's going to be stretched out over a bunch of time. But the sun will be darkened. If they're talking about the literal sun, that could be a solar eclipse. Okay, and the moon will not give its light. That could be a lunar eclipse. Another possibility for that would be if a huge volcano erupted, like Mount St. Helens or, the Yellowstone National Park here in America. If that erupted, right, it would put ash into the clouds, and that would black out the sunlight and the moonlight. That might be another possibility. I personally don't know exactly what's going to happen, but I do know that I believe that to be a literal event. The stars will fall from the sky. Meteors, asteroids, I imagine. And the heavenly bodies will be shaken. Things will go off and happen. So, recap. We've had people in here. In verse 15, we've had the revealing of the Antichrist. Okay, we've had all this stuff happening. The great distress that has no match ever. We've had all these things. We've had Christians being put to death and martyred and everything else. Okay, we've also had the sun going dark and the moon not giving its light, the stars falling from the sky, and the heavenly bodies be shaken. Okay, we've also had the love of many growing cold. We've also had read before that many will be put to death. We've also had people who will be lovers of themselves. Okay, so let's continue in verse 30. Okay, then will appear the sign of the Son of Man in heaven. And then all the peoples of the earth will mourn when they see the Son of Man coming on the clouds of heaven with power and great glory. Now, if you ever wanted to know when the rapture occurs, here's the verse for it. Matthew chapter 24, verse 31. And he will send out his angels with a loud trumpet call, and they will gather his elect from the four winds, from one end of the heavens to the other. That's the rapture event right there. After all this, that's when it's going to happen. Not before. God's not going to keep you from going through problems. Okay? The mark of the beast. That's going to happen. Okay? But what we do know is that before the rapture happens, the revealing of the Antichrist comes. So much chaos happens. Okay? And all these other events happen. And then the sign of the Son of Man comes. And then the angels with a loud trumpet call will gather all of his elect. Okay? And I know a lot of people in different cults or false religions like to think that the 144,000 spoken up in the Bible is actually their specific religion. But that's not. The Bible clearly tells you what those are. Those are people who have never had sex, ever, who are Christians. People that choose never, ever to have sex. Okay? That's virgins, in other words. That's what the 144,000 is. People that have kept that vow. If you don't believe me, go look in the Bible for yourself. Okay, go look up the 144,000, find all the verses that talk about the 144,000 and what the 144,000 actually are. Okay, but let's continue. Now learn the lesson from the fig tree. As soon as its twigs get tender and its leaves come out, you know that summer is near. Even so, when you see all these things, you know that it is near, right at your door. Truly I tell you, this generation will certainly not pass away until all these things have happened. Heaven and earth will pass away, but my words will never pass away. So there we go, ladies and gentlemen. Now, Matthew is not the only one that talks about this event. Mark talks about it. Luke talks about it. And I believe, unless I'm mistaken, John also talks about it in the 4 Gospels, okay, of the New Testament. They all talk about this in various details, okay. So I will put up other videos of the other versions of this in the other ones, okay, and we will add pieces as we go, okay.